We are live. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Thank you for joining us, everyone. I am so glad to have you here. Welcome, welcome. I am here with my very dear friend, Aisling FitzGibbon, and we are talking today about our favorite subject in the entire world. It's what we connected over in the first place, and that is following the path of your dreams. And today we want to talk specifically about following the path of your dreams no matter what, and just the entire journey that goes around that, everything that's involved, obstacles that come up, initiations that are along the path, all of these different layers of things that we feel really inspired to share with you all today. So, Aisling, I was thinking a great way to start would be if you introduce people to how we connected in the first place. How did we get onto
Oh yeah.
this?
So it was back many moons ago in around 2011, and I was sharing a post of a vision that I had for having a healing retreat center. So I had found this beautiful picture, which I don't know where I found it, but it looked really cool. But it was kind of like what I had in my mind. And I never knew you, and you just basically commented under that post, and you were like, "I see that for you," and I was like, "Who is this person?" Because most people wouldn't necessarily say that. So we just connected then over this shared vision of really creating not just our own work, but being able to contribute in a big way to the shift on the earth. And yeah, our relationship has developed over the years to be such a support on this journey, because it can get very lonely when you are pioneering your own path and really moving away from the mainstream and creating something really out of nothing.
Absolutely.
So I think we have that kindred spirit, but also we have that understanding that we're both on the journey, and we understand what it's involving. And every time we meet up, it just helps us to catalyze each other to understand deeper, and also to have the courage to keep going and expanding.
I absolutely love that. Thank you. And you've given us a fantastic start off point as well. Let's talk about that part of creating something beyond the existing paradigm, because that's a big part of what we're talking about here. It's not just following your dreams, in a kind of standard way. The people that we're talking to, and anyone who's listening to this, will recognize yourself in this. We're actually here to create something that is completely beyond the current paradigm. So we're following dreams that actually take us beyond the box of what already exists. And the trust in self and the belief in self that you need to have, and the self-support, and ideally the support of others as well, that you need to have to be able to carry that off, is absolutely massive.
Yeah.
So do you want to say a little bit around that?
Yeah, well, just what you just said, it's monumental, the amount of self-trust that you have to have. And I think in the beginning I had this big vision, and it was like a burst of clarity and revelation. Oh my gosh, this is what I'm here to bring in. Didn't know exactly what that looked like, in the practical steps of that, but I had this knowing, and that knowing was like a fire. But then along the path from within my own self, and from people in my own environment, I was met with massive obstacles of doubt and fear, and how could this possibly ever work? And so that was something, I was even having a conversation with Richie this week. We're in the woods and we're talking about like the amount of effort and energy that it takes to overcome that within your own self. First and foremost, to even do the thing is the biggest initiation. It's like the biggest hurdle. And I think once you're over that, and obviously that's not an overnight process, that's like, layers of doing the inner work. Once you are in that place of like, I'm confident in who I am, I don't need to prove myself, that's when you can start to really manifest what it is that you're here for. But the initiation is your own self, and then outside you're going to have people that are going to be close to you, that are going to trigger you. You're going to have comments, you're going to have situations that will make you feel like the thing that you're trying to bring in isn't going to ever come in. And so the initiation is to go, I don't take that for an answer, because I know what I'm here for. You can't see because it's not yet here. So how could you see? It's not a judgment on that person looking at it from their perspective, yeah, it looks like it's not there, or it doesn't look like it's viable as an adult, because as adults we have to be practical.
Yeah.
So I remember like years ago, just feeling like, oh, this confidence. And I think what's been so supportive to me though, when I didn't have that belief, is to have people in my life that mirrored back to me that belief in myself. And I suppose my relationship with my mom was that very important relationship, that she was giving that to me all the time. And obviously she, since she's passed away 2 years ago, it has become so glaringly obvious how much of a gift that was, to have somebody actually say, I see who you are and I'm here to actually chaperone you or guide you so that you can bring it in. And yeah, those initiations, nobody can avoid them, and they all come to us in different ways. So it's not like, oh, it's going to be like mine or it's going to be like Ciara's, but it's to know that the people who are showing that doubt to you on your own self, that's the initiation. And that's the opportunity to go, I see this and I'm going to actually go through it. And I'm not going to be stopped by it. I'm not going to be held back, because life is way too short to hold back who you really are.
That is brilliantly put. And there's so many things that I want to dive into from what you've just said there. But I'm just going to take a tiny step back first for a second to give a little bit more context on this. There's just a whole subject area. There's a couple of small points that I wanted to say within this. Everybody that I've connected with who is called to something, and I'm sure you found the same in your own work and just in your life in general, we have within ourselves like our own dreams that we want to bring to life, something that we're called to, that is our dreams. But innately, as change bringers and waymakers, which we are, and anybody who's listening to this is going to be that, otherwise you wouldn't be listening to us, what we have as our own dreams is actually part of birthing an entirely new paradigm for everyone. So there's actually no separation.
Yeah.
So when we're talking about following our own dreams, it's really following our own dreams is the pathway to creating a new world. And that's where it goes completely outside of the existing paradigm, because we're not here to create within the existing world. We're here to create something new. So our dreams are intimately tied into the birthing of the new. And that's what makes it so challenging.
Yeah. And that's why the initiations are there, because if it was just to set up something that was already there, it would just be like, just set it up.
Yeah. Easy peasy. Yeah.
Easy and obviously there's challenges in everyone's life, but it's not going to be like this. And it's interesting because I feel like the more that I've stepped into who I am and embodying the work that I'm bringing through me, is this point of attraction in me now is so different. Like what I'm resonating and attracting into my life is so different to what I could have even dreamed of like 10 years ago. Because I'm like owning who I am, I'm now attracting in other people who either want that or are also doing that. And it's like I'm collaborating with you, like other people, I'm just having incredible conversations and synchronicities, because it's all like we're all creating these pathways together. Yeah. And it's so exciting. And I think that's a key part, is that it is like a collaborative approach, that it's like it's not all on you, or it's not all on me, it's not all on any one person. It's like, but we all have our unique part to bring to it, and our unique, as we, in Almeen's world, the song of self. It's like once you're fully singing who you are and fully expressing that, it's like we're an orchestra basically, like we all play together. Yeah, but it's like if you're not playing your violin in the corner and you're like, I'm afraid, then the orchestra can't be complete. So it's like just do the thing that you're called to do.
I love that so much. I love how you describe all of that. And it's so true. When you start actually just accepting your place in things, you step into the field of resonance of all of us who are co-creating this new reality. It's exactly what you described, Aisling. It's not one of us, it's this co-creative process. And the field is there. And when you step into the field through accepting that you have a part in it, and letting the burden of it being like a singular thing fall off your shoulders, the support that's present just in being in that field is immense. It's so huge. There's so many of us, and it's phenomenally exciting.
It's so exciting. And I think one of the biggest obstacles that I see in so many people, and this is something that I've definitely moved through my own self, so I know it very intimately, is that we can get sidetracked by the chaos that's happening in the outer world.
Yeah.
And actually hemorrhage out our energy into fighting that, instead of actually going, okay, that's happening. Yeah, that's fine. But I'm actually going to center into my own self, and I'm going to use all of my energy and life force to create the new reality, the new paradigm. And that's my discipline. That's my focus. That's on what you were saying before. That's that North Star that keeps you aligned, because it's very easy to get sidetracked. Very easy.
Let's talk a bit more about that, because that's a critically important point. And I found in myself and in everybody that I've connected with on this, and again, I'm sure you'll have found exactly the same, that discipline is what makes the difference between being able to achieve what you're called to and not. It's that one thing.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, because I think that say when I'm just thinking of myself, like if I reverse back in time now, and I'm imagining myself talking to you back in Cornucopia in 2012, and I had all these big dreams, but it's like I didn't necessarily know. I had the faintest idea of how to actually bring it into reality. Is what I was saying. But it's like it actually is. It's like it's not just a thing that, oh, I'm going to manifest it. Oh, the law of attraction, great energy, and all this. It's like, yeah, that's all relevant, but you actually have to manifest. You have to take the disciplined action to bring it into form, and you cannot sidestep that part.
That's it. Even more than the disciplined action, there's an even more nuanced component in that, and it's just the discipline of perpetually coming back to your own center and to your own self. That is like the very core of it, and that's where the disciplined action comes from.
Yeah.
I speak to so many people who are constantly in this place of spinning their wheels around, okay, but this has happened, this has happened, this has happened, this has happened. And the solution all of the time is if you just come back to the core of yourself, if you come back home to yourself and you make that your absolute devotion, this is what I will do in every moment, no matter what, you have a clear path. There is always a clear path with that, even if you're standing in front of a solid rock.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
That's
I love that. And that reminds me of an interview that I did recently with Barbara, who I trained with in nutrition. And I was asking her, like, different practices that she most recommends. And she said that constantly centering yourself, coming back to yourself. And really that's coming from like the feminine, like the depths of within.
Yeah.
And that's where we access our blueprint.
That's it. Yeah.
So as you're saying, yes, there is that nuance with like, it's not just about taking action. Busy. It's like, yeah, you could be busy, but actually getting nowhere. That it's like, it's actually, the action is coming from the depths of who you are, not what you think you have to be in order to fit in or whatever. Like your actual real self.
Absolutely. I think an awesome thing we could do is if we share a little bit about our own journeys and how this has started for us, to give kind of a like broad sweep idea of how this tends to go. And then we can talk through some of the kind of obstacles that come up.
Yeah.
So for me personally, I received, if you will, the vision for my life about 12 years ago. And I know it was very similar for you. Sometimes what can happen for us is that we get like a download of this is what I'm here to do. For others, it's kind of a more gradual process, like it's just revealed over time. For others, there's never clarity beyond the immediate moments. And no matter what way it appears, it's completely fine. And it's completely unique to every individual. But I have noticed that there's a common element. And it's that no matter what kind of level of clarity you have around the vision itself and the dreams that you want to step into, there's this feeling inside that you're here to live something so much more, either than what you're currently living or than what the world has kind of prescribed as this is what is possible. And that never goes away. And you can numb it out, like you were describing earlier. You can try to bury it. You can try to suppress it. You can try to ignore it. It never goes away. And if you try to do those things, it's going to catch up with you in some form or another. And what usually is part of this, I've noticed, is that we have to have an understanding and an acceptance that the process of building our dreams is long term.
Mm-hmm.
It's a long-term game. So for me, when I originally received, if you will, the vision for my life 12 years ago, I was like, okay, great, I'm doing this tomorrow.
Yeah. And do it all at the one time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Next year, I will have achieved this.
Yeah.
And then the next year, I was like, shit, I haven't achieved this. What's wrong with me?
Yeah. New Year's Eve starts to get very pressurizing.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. And then I started to realize, okay, wait, this was like your life's purpose. It's meant to take 50 years, not
exactly
a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
We have to be prepared that living the life of our dreams and living our dreams is something that we make a lifelong commitment to, and just get comfortable with the journey. Step by step, taking the paces as they come, taking the obstacles as they come, bit by bit by bit, and knowing that every single stage you go through, you're going to bump into obstacles.
It's
guaranteed.
Guaranteed. Yeah.
You're definitely 1,000,000% going to be initiated over and over and over and over and over again. And if you know that and you accept that from the off, it shouldn't faze you when it happens.
I know. Yeah, you don't have to take it as personally when it's happening. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So for me, the initiations have been extreme with immense trauma. Massive, massive, massive trauma that I've thought so many times were going to absolutely crush me, and I would never be able to survive, and I would die, and I would never be happy again. There's no possible way that I could get through this, etc. And you've had your own version of that.
Yeah.
The thing that is the critical component in all of this is that North Star that we were talking about. The North Star is your singular focus that is locked onto, I can feel, I can see, I can sense, whatever way you uniquely experience it, something is possible for me. Even if you don't have the clarity of what, there's something, it's calling me. We can actually hear the call deep within our being. That's the North Star. And if you can keep locked onto that, no matter what, it will pull you through.
Absolutely. Because I'm just thinking of the time that we went through the experience of my mom, like being in hospital in intensive care, and then, oh my gosh, the horror of she's, physically dying, but yet I was able to hold on to that North Star throughout the experience with your help at that time, and it just transformed the whole experience. And as a result, my path has opened up in ways that I could never have imagined.
Yeah.
And now I see that it was not some cruel, random occurrence, that it was actually divinely part of my path.
Precisely that, Aisling. And that's exactly why I wanted to share this, because no matter the extremity of the challenges, that's not the point. You can get through anything, truly anything. You can get through it. And actually, I would go as far as to say that the more extreme the challenges, the bigger the initiation, which means the bigger the dream that's on the other side.
Yeah.
There seems to be a direct correlation.
There is, because I think it's almost like in a way, not to like glamorize trauma or anything, but it's almost like the trauma is like such a contraction, but then to heal and expand from that, like opens you out in ways that you never would have otherwise opened up.
Yes.
To it.
And actually, this is a really good segue just to discuss briefly for a moment for the type of beings that we're talking to and that are going to be listening to this, where we're here to help create the new. Innately, as part of our being, we're shamans, we're priestesses, we're priests, we're all of these types of beings. We're magical, mystical, spiritual beings. For us to actually step into our life purpose, the initiation has to match the power that you're going to receive. So it doesn't have to be traumatic, but it has to be something that will test you to the degree that will actually give you the capacity to hold your own power. And that's why it's like this. And what can happen a lot, I've noticed in my work, again, probably we've had very similar experiences with the people that we would be connecting with in our work, is that if you bump into a particularly challenging initiation, the temptation can be to shut down from that and forget the dream.
Yeah.
Rather than, okay, this, what I'm facing right now is exactly what's required to push me to be able to hold the level of power that's on the other side. And if you can remember what it's for,
Yeah.
that changes.
That changes everything.
Yes.
Because I remember having that conversation with you and just being like, feeling victimized, but then at the same time being able to go, I actually can hold myself through this and I will make it through. I don't know how, but it was like I had to be stretched so large for my capacity to actually come in.
That's it. And if you don't mind me saying, like, observing you with having the immense honor to observe your process as somebody close to you in your life, like the expansion that happened to you, I have never seen anything like that. That was epic.
I know. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was incredible. And I was just blessed to have met you back in 2011, but to have had you hold that space for me was just life-changing.
My absolute honor to be here together and walking this path and tuned into this field of resonance that we have the immense privilege to play in.
It's very exciting.
It's phenomenal, Ashley. Yeah. It's phenomenal.
And that's why when I see people and I hear them and, I just feel like it's not about me.
Yes.
It's
say
not
more,
about
say more.
It's about getting out of my own way so that I can facilitate other people to, because their ego is going to battle with this so much. It's like, in order to be able to allow them to merge with who they are, that is. And again, and I think when all of us come from that place of like, it's not about me.
Yeah.
It's not about me putting myself out there and what will people think of me. It's like you're stepping into what is needed from other people. Like other people need you. And like we all need each other. And it's like the more that we actually step into who we are and our roles and whatever unique part that we're playing, the quicker we're bringing this through, because ultimately we're kind of sitting here, this year 2020 is such a year of upheaval, and we might be saying, oh well, it's going to get better soon, but it's like the soon is actually you.
Yeah.
Nobody's coming in to save you. It's like you are the person to save you.
Yeah.
And that thing that you're waiting for is actually you. You're the person you're waiting for.
Yeah, and it's not even nobody is coming to save you. Nobody else is coming to create the world that we want to be living in. We have to actually bring it about.
Yeah.
Through our contribution.
Through our contribution. And I think that's the thing that I suppose most people aren't aware of, is that this destructuring that's happening is part of the process it's giving us the fertile ground.
That's it.
To create now in ways that weren't probably possible in previous times.
It's like, I was going to say a different analogy, but I'll just tell you this really small story. I went to Iceland in February and we visited the site of that unpronounceable volcano that exploded in 2012 or whenever it was. And the person who was showing us around was describing how when this exploded and, littered the fields with lava and so on, everybody was absolutely horrified, terrified that the land was never going to recover and so on. But it actually turned out that the minerals from the lava caused the soil to become so fertile that new growth came forth in a way that was beyond anybody's expectations. And it turned out to be absolutely wonderful. Yeah. And this process that we're going through now is like that.
Isn't it?
Yes. Yeah, very much.
As you were saying, that just reminds me of like that you need like compost. It's like we need the old to compost to actually create the new.
That's it. Yeah. And I mean, the world that we've lived in has been thoroughly broken. I think we can pretty much all agree on that. It's been absolutely broken. But within that, there have been little shreds of nutrients that are valuable in some way. But the only way you can actually get to those in such a broken system is to break it down and extract like the core essence of what's worth keeping. And that's definitely coming about from this year, not to get on a tangent with the whole pandemic scenario and so on. Yeah. But there's definitely a resurgence of recognition of, okay, what actually matters? The connection with others really matters. Just living a beautiful daily life really matters. The fact that we're alive and that we just get to be safe in our homes, all those small things that have been completely forgotten, that's what really matters. And now we can build something new from the fertile soil of having those things be the very core.
I love that.
And that brings me to the connection part. There has been a massive shift over the last couple of days cosmically. Probably everybody's feeling it. And I won't get too much into that other than to say that something has changed over the last couple of days. And what I've noticed has changed is that there's a new opportunity for us to tap into that field of resonance that we're talking about, where we recognize ourselves as part of the cosmic oneness, or even in the most basic sense, as part of the web of life. Let's just put it like that. So it's really simple and accessible for everybody, where we actually recognize ourselves within that and feel the oneness of being part of something larger, part of a global community who are longing for something new. We've had enough of the old. It's awful. We've concluded that.
Yes.
What next?
Yes.
There's this surge now of, okay, something new is now possible. How can we contribute to that? And it really shifts now from being, we were talking earlier about, okay, my dreams. How do I have my dreams? To, okay, my dreams are part of the contribution to a whole new world. And if we can get into the recognition of this collaborative awareness of our dreams being interconnected with everybody else's and interconnected with the birth of a new paradigm, that totally changes the playing field. First of all, it gets rid of so many of those layers of egoic, what's the word? I can't think of the word, but
almost neurosis of the ego.
Yeah. That'll do. Yeah, absolutely. That definitely is descriptive. Yeah. The obstacles that the ego throws up that are just complete nonsense, but are really difficult to.
It's like a web that you get caught in.
Exactly. Yeah. It gets rid of that. But secondly, it puts you in touch with the support that's available from everybody else. We're all part of now contributing to the birthing of the new.
Yeah, and it's almost like it's like a wave of momentum then when you actually connect to it in that way, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. And there's an excitement that comes with that.
Yeah.
It's like a feeling of what's possible and what's my part in that, because I exist, therefore I have a part.
Exactly. And it's not even that you have to necessarily know the whole thing, but it's just like, what do you most feel inspired to do? Like what is showing up for you? Pursue that.
Yeah.
You don't have to make it complicated. I think actually the simpler it is, I don't know, it's just like whatever is the thing that's most calling you. That's what I feel for myself anyway. And from working with people as well, it's like, what is the thing that is really calling to you? Go do that, and it will it's like you only get like little crumbs of clues, and then as you follow them, the picture starts to appear.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
And that's it.
I love how you describe that. That's brilliant.
Because initially you're like, oh, I've got this big idea, but what is it? It's like one piece after another. Hansel and Gretel, that story, we'll bring that with us to the new reality. that gives you a good indicator of what it's like, just following those threads, isn't it?
Yeah, very much that. Yeah.
But I also feel it's like it's also a commitment to that as well. What world are you committed to? What are you feeding your energy and your life force to? Because we are all powerful creational beings, and so if we're it's just shifting that focus to what is it that I want, and that could be, as you were saying, as simple as I want to create a beautiful experience for myself in my day, and start with that. So it's like it's infusing that feeling of what you want. It doesn't necessarily have to be that the mind has to know exactly what it's going to be. But it's that feeling, because it's the vibration of it, and because I even feel like the more you kind of allow yourself be in it, the ideas just come in.
Agreed.
As you open and you're surrendered to the experience.
Exactly. That's exactly the field of resonance, and you're so spot on. Yeah, precisely that. Let's just talk a little bit about the obstacles, because we were going to do that and kind of got sidetracked by something else. There were a few things that we wanted to say, such as the family obstacles.
Oh yeah.
And other things that can be really significant challenges for people.
Mm-hmm.
So do you want to start on that, or shall I?
Yeah, I'll start with the people that I suppose are able to really get under your skin will be family members that will, either doubt you or just like make you feel like who you're trying to be is ridiculous in various shapes or forms, or that what you are maybe attempting to live is not possible. So, and I see that in my own self. I see that with Richie. I see that with some of the people that I've been close with, and it's just that's I think one of the biggest gateways that you have to go through.
Yeah.
To access your power.
Yeah, exactly. There's a really key element within that is the survival mechanism that's hardwired within us since birth. It's an infantile mechanism, but in most people it never evolves until you establish within yourself the more mature level that comes beyond that. And that's not meant to be a judgment. It means there's something that we have to actually put in place within ourselves to replace it. Otherwise it's never replaced. So it's hardwired into the nervous system that to be able to survive as infants, we need to make sure that we stay pleasing to our family group, particularly to parent figures, whether it's actual parents or caregivers, in the case of where somebody lives with an adopted family or whatever. And that is very physiological. There's a physiological unconscious feeling that we cannot step too far outside of the parameters of what's accepted by the family units. And then on a larger scale by the community units, that's like the next level up. The tribal units that keep getting progressively bigger until you reach the biggest one. That has to actually be replaced, that unconscious mechanism within us, with a physiological experience of self-support and self-trust. It has to become very embodied as an actual experience that we can biologically, neurologically feel. I am supporting of myself. I am providing for myself. I don't require outside approval for survival.
Yeah.
That's essential to be able to step outside the clutches of how your family wants you to be.
That's what it is. And that was the huge initiation that I walked through when my mom passed away. When I didn't have her shielding me.
Her physical presence.
Yeah, her physical presence shielding me. And that I had to then develop that within my own self. And not fall into the trap of reducing who I am to fit in and to be accepted.
How did you do that? Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I suppose I just had to pull back from family and spend a lot of time on my own, and actually coming back home to my own self and not being dependent on other people. In like the kind of in the ways of like, okay, now this has happened to my life, a huge upheaval. What do I do now? Do I try to go back and pretend, as in like, just not try to do this work or not try to be on this path, and can I go back to the thing that I trained in, occupational therapy, that type of world? And it was kind of like this fork in the roads where I could have decided to go that way because I was,
really
struggling with grief and very vulnerable.
Yeah.
But I just made a decision to myself that there's no way that I would give up on who I am. So I decided to, go a little bit on the lonely path for a while. But now, as I'm strong in myself and I've integrated in myself, I can now reintegrate with people.
Yeah.
From a place of being in my own power and not needing the outside approval for what I'm doing. That I'm just like, I know what I'm doing.
I think that's a really valid point, Aisling, in that the solitary aspect seems to be a key component that is part of the path for most. I'm not going to say it is for all because I don't know that.
Yeah.
But
Same with Richie as well.
yeah,
Yeah.
There are at least periods where you have
Yeah.
to really be solitary to stand in what you're
Hmm.
feeling and what you're sensing
Yeah.
as possible when nobody else can see it.
Yeah. You do. Because you need to strengthen within you, see.
Yeah,
So that
yeah.
then you can be in situations where you can hold who you are. Whereas if you don't have that strength, it's easy to fall out of it.
And that's it. Yeah. Let's just talk a little bit though about even that, the necessity for solitary
Mm.
periods. That's not easy.
No.
We have support tools in our lives that enable us to do that, and we should probably share what those are.
Yeah, exactly. I do lots of things to help myself. Yeah. It's not like I just lock myself in a room. Right.
Yeah.
I'm connected to my vision. What am I doing? Yeah. Yeah. They're like, that sounds great. Actually, not. Yeah.
So for both of us, and this is another thing that we've connected over very strongly because we're both like this, and it's rare to find people who are like this. The purity of diet is critical.
I'm just gonna say,
Yeah.
you can't overlook the body work for me has been fundamental and still is as an ongoing practice. Like just this weekend now I did a juice cleanse 3 days, and the clarity
Yeah.
and energy that I feel in my body is like like nothing else. And like talk about mothering.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the ultimate mothering tool.
Yeah, I
and
agree.
and I think the more the purer your diet is, the more of an open channel you are
Yeah.
to receive the support of the universe that doesn't have to come through your family of origin.
Yeah.
That is actually available to everyone, but that we can't feel it if our body is blocked.
And that's exactly it. Yeah, and there are many different layers to that. There's that one that you've just described, which is so spot on. I couldn't put that in better words. It's perfectly put. But another aspect that I've noticed it's really important within this as well is that when you're putting in the foods and the substances and so on that really don't belong in a body, it's generally to cover up emotional underlying things that are present that are keeping you tied to the family group or the tribal group or whatever. And when you take those things away,
yes,
then it's apparent what needs to be healed.
And that's why people avoid doing it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it will everything will become very, very apparent when you clear that. Yeah.
Even the removal of coffee, for example,
being
a nervous system stimulant, very clearly highlights the nervous system dependency on others.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to go on a healing journey then of the self-soothing. Like even in the most basic sense, I just want to share a really basic tool for the self-soothing. The physical aspect is critically important in so many different ways, but with this kind of unconscious biological survival mechanism that we have, you do need the physical support. And we do tend to seek out physical connection with others as a means of having that, just like being held by your mother when you were a child.
That's really interesting. And
like you experienced when your mother wasn't physically present anymore, suddenly there was a huge gap in that.
And that's so fascinating because that was the time when I got really deep into all my physical healing with actually having to develop my nervous system, because my mom was actually soothing me all the time. And then when she was gone, I was like, now I've got to start out my nervous system. But it was perfect because it actually put me onto the journey that I'm on, that I'm now able to assist other people with as well. But it's like, oh my gosh, unbelievable how much your nervous system is so unstable.
Yeah, it's
so unstable.
Yeah, the nervous system is the crux of it. So
isn't it? A strong nervous system is so it's like, it's not just about mental decision. It's like you have to be able to hold it in the nervous system.
Yeah, precisely. I was just going to share the most basic, even without doing anything else, self-soothing that you can do to stabilize in the self-support in the nervous system is holding yourself.
Yeah.
Literally holding yourself.
Yeah. Give yourself a nice hug.
Yes. Hold yourself. Touch on the body. Soothing touch that secures the nervous system and gives the inner child a sense of being held. And you can even do things like hold yourself and affirm, I am completely self-supportive.
Yeah.
I am completely safe and home and held where I am. I don't require the approval of such and such or
Yeah.
whoever. It's so basic.
But it's so powerful. It's
Yes.
so powerful. And actually the more simple
Exactly.
like that, it's like that's the foundational piece, because I think if you're trying to do everything else from a place of not addressing that component and just kind of skirting around the edges of it, you're never really fully landing into yourself.
That's it. Yeah. That's it. So even without the dietary things, if you can just constantly remember to come back to that, it changes everything.
Everything. And so every time you encounter an initiation or a challenge, that's another prompt to come back home to the self again.
My favorite self-care tool is curling up in a ball under a blanket, holding myself.
Literally, that was so funny, because that was the thing that my mom gave me when I was in college. She'd say, "Oh, come home now, and I'll wrap you in your blue blanket."
And
I'd be in by the fire, like a baby, literally. But I used to, like, whenever I was like having a hard time at university, I'd be like, I can't wait to go home to that blue blanket. But it's like, and I think we all have that power to mother ourselves, no matter what age we are, whether we have a mother physically or not. It's like, you can do that. And another thing that I love to do in the winter is to heat up my pajamas at nighttime on the radiator before I put them on.
That's brilliant.
And make them really warm. And like,
that's so nice.
But it's like, it's supporting yourself, isn't it? And as you support yourself, that opens the space for the world to support you as well, because it comes from that inside.
Yes, precisely. So part of the pure diet, eating the cleanest diets that you possibly can. Plant-based foods are phenomenal. I am a big fan. I've been plant-based for a long, long time. Really, really recommend that. Of course, it's not for everybody, but if you can do that, it's fantastic. But if not, just the cleanest diet that you possibly can is a way of actually signaling to yourself and to your body, aside from, the cleanliness on all levels that comes from it, that you are willing to self-support, and that you are willing to put yourself first, and that you're willing to commit to your own well-being and following what feels true to you first and foremost. It's a really, really powerful tool to use.
Yeah.
We have many, many other supports as well, but I think that's probably the foundation.
We can go into all the others, but it will get a bit confusing.
Yeah, exactly.
You have to kind of start off at the basics, and then, like, whatever needs to come next, but you kind of journey into that when you're ready. But I think that's something that you can't override. Is the physical support, because everything is being held at the physical level. Like, we're bringing this into the physical world.
That's it. Just one thing on the family bit that I want to touch on as well, because it comes up so much, and my own particular area of unique experience is in this, is where there's been huge trauma within the family units. So many, it's really startling, the number. I would say actually the majority rather than the minority, just a lot of people don't talk about it, have experienced trauma within the family itself. That seems to be a very, very common initiation on this path. And again, it can be something that stops you in your tracks, and you just immediately get caught up in, or not necessarily immediately, but you're caught in all of the ways where you can't live your dreams because of this trauma. That too has to be seen in the light of, this is the exact initiation. If we can embrace that as this is giving me precisely what I need to be able to stand in my power. And keep focused on, sorry, go on.
Because that changes everything, because otherwise to see it through the other lens just keeps you stuck.
Exactly. And what can really often happen with this is, where there's been trauma in the family, we're constantly cycling in, oh my God, the pain of this, the pain of that, etc., rather than coming back home to, I'm choosing to live this path. These are the dreams that I want to follow. I'm removing my focus from the reality that I do not want to be living. And extracting all of that energy and all of that power that's bound up in it. It's the time for us to do this. This is why I wanted to mention this specifically now. so many people have had this experience. It's been my experience. It's been the experience of hundreds of people that I've spoken to about this. This is the time where we just say, look, yes, that was our past experience.
Mm-hmm.
It's time to move beyond this now to the next level. And of course, there's a healing process.
Yeah.
We have to make the decision now.
Yeah.
We're past that part. Might not have gathered all the gifts from it yet, but it's time for the new. That was the initiation to get this far.
Absolutely. And as you say, like earlier, what you were saying about like the bigger the initiation,
Mm-hmm.
the bigger the level of power that wishes to bestow upon you.
Yeah.
So that it's like whatever you've gone through is like preparing you for something far greater on the other side of that. So kind of hold that with that hope of what's possible,
Mm-hmm.
like what's coming through you when you actually heal from that and really come into yourself and come into your own power.
The self-seeing is a huge part of that. And again, tapping into the field of resonance where all of us are in this together can really help, because we have to know our family are not going to see us unless they're like us. They're just not.
No. My mom was a rarity.
Rare exception. Yeah, it's a very unique situation you had there. Our families are not going to see us. They're not going to understand us. They're not going to be able to support us in the degree that we need for the most part. There is no point in being upset about it.
Yeah.
Instead,
it is what it is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Instead, if we can self-recognize, this is because I am literally here to birth a new world. How could anybody possibly see me unless they're like me?
They can't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the peace and the self-nourishment that comes from that, the recognizing of self. They can't see me because of who I am. I get that. I accept that. I accept my part in the birthing of the new world.
Yeah.
There is the possibility for instantaneous healing of years of pain just in that self-recognition.
Yeah. So good. I love that. So following your dreams, no matter what, I think comes back down to that point of self-recognition.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
no matter
precisely.
what.
Yeah.
No matter what's happening, no matter what's playing out, no matter what your current situation is, should I say. It's like following your dreams no matter what, and opening to the incredible support that's around you from yourself, and then from the universe, through people, through synchronicities, through healing tools, through whatever shows up.
Mm-hmm.
As you initiate that, it's like momentum builds more momentum.
Yes, and it becomes exponential.
Yeah. And I remember thinking like these ideas were so far away, and and it's not until I've actually lived them that I can hear you and hear myself and go, this is for real. This is absolutely 100% real.
And I hope that those who are listening can feel from us and are connecting in this. It's real. If you want this, the more of us are living it, the easier it is for anybody who wants to step into it to do so.
Yeah.
It's incredibly exciting. And yes, as you put so eloquently there, Aisling, it all comes down to the commitment to self, the promise to self, to see yourself as you are and to put that first and foremost.
Yeah.
Focusing on that North Star that calls you, I am meant for something more. Might not know how to get there, but when I commit to that, it will carry me.
Yeah.
And it will. And the support is there like never before. We're all together in this, and it's so amazing to be co-creating this whole new world together.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ciara.
Thank you so much. And thank you for everybody joining. It was so lovely to connect with you all. Have a beautiful evening.
Bye.
Bye.